Do you want to talk about housing bubbles? Because we're going to talk about housing bubbles. Let's get into it. Hey guys, how you doing? Derek here from M1 Realty. I'm the broker owner, founder of the company. Started in 2014, just myself and a laptop up on the third floor of an office suite here in Ferndale, Michigan. Fast forward to today, we got a storefront right at the corner of 9 and Woodward. We're the biggest, baddest, best real estate firm in the city, and I've got an all-star team of agents. So whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest, rent, whatever you need, we've got you covered. We even do property management now. So I had an awesome video lined up for you guys this week. I was supposed to be in Phoenix, Arizona. I was going to talk to my real estate coach, Joshua Smith, who's one of the best minds that I've ever met in the real estate industry. This guy thinks like 20 steps ahead. It's pretty incredible. I'm fortunate to have been working with him for the past, 7-8 years now at this point. But Frontier Airlines decided it would be an awesome experience to teach me some patience, making me sit at Metro Airport for 10 hours before they canceled my flight out to Phoenix. So I'm still here in Ferndale, and instead of that video, let's talk housing bubbles. So I've got some stats to present, and I know that's everybody's favorite thing in the world, right? But it's indicative of where the market could potentially be heading here. So it's important to remember that when we're talking about stats, things that have already happened, we're kind of looking backwards. We're looking into the past here. I don't have current stats because they don't compile them until the end of every month, and we're right here in the exact middle of April. So we're gonna have to kind of infer where the market's headed, and I can do that anecdotally because I wrote probably 15 offers over the weekend, and I only got 2 accepted because every single house that we wrote on went to multiple offers. So let's talk about what that kind of is predictive of, and what may happen further on into the season here. So I'm kind of looking at long-term trends over time. Like, I know historically what happens with the market at different times of year. So the way that it usually works is our inventory peaks in the middle of summer, like usually July or August, starts going down and bottoms out in usually January or February. This year is a little bit different, but not much. And then as far as prices, those kind of follow the same track. Prices are up highest that time of year, and they bottom out usually in January, February. Same deal. You're going to see your amount of inventory and your average sale price kind of track together. So we're seeing that, but the pattern is a little bit different. And as we're heading into our busy season, things are starting to change up a little bit. So I thought it was important enough to make this video. So we'll talk about the entire MLS, which basically, for our intents and purposes, is the entire state of Michigan minus like the Saginaw, Bay City, Midland area. For whatever reason, they don't want to share their data with us. So whatever. Same deal in Charlevoix too. So we have Traverse City stats, but we don't have like Charlevoix or whatever little cities are up that way. Petoskey, I don't think we get either. But I digress. What we're looking at right now is the number of listings in the past month. So we're talking from February to March has gone down 7% across the board. Usually this time of year we're looking at the number of listings going up. Now that's down 7%. And in that same amount of time, the average sale price has gone up, over the entire state of Michigan here. It's gone up 0.6%, which isn't huge, but we'd kind of like things to be going in the other direction for this time of year. We want to see, at least the inventory increasing instead of decreasing. So what we're seeing is when this is all supply and demand. Like, none of this is new. We talk about this all the time. Our biggest problem we have with the market right now, and this is nationally as well as locally, is lack of inventory. So we're not as bad off as we were a year ago. We are still 12 to 13% higher than where we were a year ago. Problem is, interest rates are substantially lower now than they were a year ago. Not that that's a problem, that's a good thing. But what that's causing is more buyers to enter the market at a time when our number of listings is going down. So obviously we've got increased demand, we've got decreased supply. That's going to drive prices up, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen right now. So across the entire MLS that we use, we're seeing, again, just to recap, number of listings down 7%, the average sale price is up 0.6%, and the absorption rate is the other metric that I look at, and that's how many months of inventory are on the market. And right now, our absorption rate has, between November and March, has dropped 27.2%. So that's pretty significant. If our absorption rate had held steady, I wouldn't be as concerned. But what we're seeing here is, the amount of inventory is down, prices are up, and more homes are being sold faster. So we've got ourselves into a little bit of a possible predicament here, where if we don't see more inventory hitting the market soon, we could see a bubble. So hence the name of this video. So let's break it down by county, because I don't really care that much what happens in Oscoda, 200 miles away from here. I'm assuming you don't either. So we'll break it down by county. We'll just talk about Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties, because that really affects the majority of the people who watch this channel. So let's break it down. Let's talk about Oakland County first, because the numbers pretty much track. And then when we get to Wayne County, Detroit obviously is its own thing, but we'll kind of break down the numbers of Detroit specifically as it is encompassed by Wayne County as a whole. But let's start with Oakland. And we're seeing pretty significant movement in Oakland County right now. So the entire MLS listings are down 7%. Oakland County tracks pretty closely with that. It's down 7.4% in Oakland County. But instead of the average sale price only being up by less than 1%, it's up by 6.9% in Oakland County. So we're seeing that same drop in the number of inventory, and the average sale price is just skyrocketing by almost the exact same amount. And the absorption rate for the state was down 27.2% from November till now. In Oakland County, it's down 35%. So that's pretty significant. What we're seeing is, it's an even bigger disparity than what we're seing from the state as a whole. So Oakland, I'm definitely keeping my eye on the market right now, big time, because that's where I do maybe not the majority of my business. I mean, we're located in Oakland County. We service the entire Tri-County area, but I'd say more than half of our business is Oakland County. So we obviously don't want to get into a situation where there's just no inventory again, prices are sky high, and there's a ton of buyers looking to buy. That's not going to help anybody. But I'm cautiously optimistic here, because what we are expecting to see the further we get in, as we get into late spring, early summer, is usually when we see our biggest influx of inventory. And again, we've been seeing more this year than we have last year. But I think there's more than 12% more buyers. We got 12% more listings, but we have, probably closer to 20% more pre-approved buyers this time right now than we did last year at the same time. Let's talk about Macomb County then, because we're most of these numbers are going to be somewhat similar as far as the number of listings, because Macomb is down 7.8% in terms of the number of listings. But Macomb is a much smaller sample size than Oakland or Wayne County. There's only 878 homes on the market right now in the entirety of Macomb County. So not very many. Like, we don't even have 1,000 homes on the market in Macomb. And the prices are up 1.4%. So we're still seeing, more, double what the prices are up statewide in Macomb County. I think that's going to be a function of just fewer homes available to anybody that wants to move into Macomb County. And the absorption rate there is down 36.7%. So, I mean, we're seeing, all that means is with the way I like to describe the absorption rate is, if nothing else hits the market, how long is it going to take for every single home to sell? And in Macomb County, we're talking about less than a month for the entire county to sell out of houses. So we need inventory. If you guys are thinking about selling, now's the time. But let's break Wayne County down, because that one's a little bit more complicated. because again, we have to break the numbers of the city of Detroit out of the county as a whole, because Detroit's actually providing some headwind for the county as a whole. It's obviously the biggest city in the state of Michigan, biggest city in Wayne County, and it's a big chunk of the population of Wayne County. So we'll talk about let's get into that right now. So right now in Wayne County, the number of listings is down 2.9% versus the month from February to March. It's down 2.9%, but in the city of Detroit, it's down 3.1%. So if we took the city of Detroit out of that equation, the amount of inventory in Wayne County wouldn't really be down that much. But since we're including Detroit, it is, and Detroit's providing a lot of that decrease in inventory. And even still, the average price for a home is up 8.4% in Wayne County as a whole, and it's only up 4.4% in Detroit. So because Detroit has, we've got an inventory problem pretty much everywhere in the Metro Detroit area except for the city of Detroit. We have plenty of houses there. A lot of them are fixer-uppers, and we'll get into that in a later video. But that's why it's a little bit different than every place else we're talking about, because the market is just kind of structurally different in the city of Detroit. So if we didn't have Detroit kind of holding back the rest of Wayne County, prices would be shooting up through the roof, even though we don't really have that huge of a decrease in inventory there. But the absorption rate isn't much different from everything statewide. It's not quite as bad as the other counties that we were talking about or the state as a whole. The absorption rate's still down 24.3% from November until now in Wayne County, and it's down 23.9% in Detroit. So, that kind of tracks. That's a pretty similar number there. But, that's what we're looking at in the basically across the board. There's a couple little outlier cities here and there. But generally speaking, if you are looking to purchase a house right now, to get yourself pre-approved, we're seeing fewer houses on the market, and we're seeing the prices kind of skyrocket. And I know everybody's kind of waiting around for. It's kind of a double-edged sword. We're kind of waiting around for inflation to drop down to 2%, so the Fed can cut rates down, and then it's more affordable to buy a house. But in the meantime, one of the biggest drivers of inflation is housing. So, we've got prices going up while, prices on most other consumer goods and services are coming down a little bit, at least they're not increasing at the same rate they were, a year or two ago when inflation was like at 9%. But, housing's the outlier, and that's the one thing that we're trying to rein in a little bit, and we're not really having a whole lot of success. I'll give my thoughts on what needs to be done here, but at the end of this video. But for right now, that's kind of what we're looking at. It's kind of tricky. It's like, what do you do? Except for hope that this year tracks like almost every other year, and we start seeing a lot more inventory hit the market before too long here. The weather's really starting to get nice, so that usually helps. But it also helps. More people don't like to go look at houses when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground and it's 8 degrees. They like to wait till it's 75 and sunny, and they can go take their time and enjoy driving around neighborhoods with the windows down. Here we are. So it's we're gonna see what happens. I know I just put out a video recently saying that things are kind of trending in the right direction, but that's why I make weekly videos. So let's talk about a couple solutions here. Obviously, people putting their homes on the market is the fastest way that we can kind of not have a bubble situation. We want that bubble to deflate a little bit before we get too far into summer. What we've been seeing, and over the past week, mortgage rates have gone up again. They're not anywhere near where they were back in November, but they're right around 7% again. We were down to about 6.5% on average for a 30-year fixed rate conventional. They've been kind of bouncing around, but kind of creeping up and up and up. So now we're brushing 7% again. That more than likely will keep a small percentage of buyers on the sidelines, which isn't great, because if people want to buy houses, we want to be able to put them in a house so they can achieve the American dream and have home ownership and all that good stuff and build wealth and build equity in their home. But the reality is, the higher the rates go, the less people can afford to the less buying power they have for a home at a time when homes are becoming increasingly less affordable. So what's the real solution to this? The real solution is something that I'm pretty positive isn't going to happen. What needs to happen is, somewhere along the way, home building got disincentivized. Like, we made it harder to build homes. We put more restrictions on zoning and environmental, and don't get me wrong, that stuff is incredibly important, and I'm not in favor of just like go build whatever you want wherever you want. I mean, we need to have some kind of guidelines as far as like planning our communities, things like that. But at the same time, it makes it harder for developers and builders to actually put in a subdivision or condos or whatever. There's a lot more red tape. It takes longer. It's more expensive. And that's why you're seeing, when builders build, they're just building McMansions, essentially. Like, there's very few, I don't know any home builders out there that are just going around building starter homes anymore. So you'll get condos, and then you have your $500,000 to $1 million new builds, in mostly in outlying areas. Although we do have a little bit of infill here in like the Woodward Corridor area, but that's not helping the people that really need to buy houses now, because most of those are starter, first time buyers and things like that. So to me, one of my friends who's a mortgage lender asked me just a few weeks ago, like, down to brass tacks, like, what needs to happen? And home builders need to be incentivized to build starter homes, like single family homes. Like, you just don't see it anymore. You go around, Ferndale, Hazel Park, you go, city of Detroit, it's all, 1,000 to 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom ranches and bungalows. And that's what that's what people would buy. They'd get their job at the Ford plant or whatever back in the day, and then that's the house they'd buy. And maybe they would move up here and there, or move into the suburbs or whatever. But we don't see that anymore. It's, you get a condo or you get a McMansion. There's nothing in between. Like, even I grew up in Clinton Township. You go to Clinton Township, Sterling Heights. Houses that were built in the 70s and 80s are maybe a little larger, but we're talking like 1,600 to like 1,900 square foot brick ranches, and not really bungalows, but ranches and colonials. And you don't see those anymore either. Like, everything that's being built is like 2,500 square feet and up. So. And I get it, that's where the profit is for the builders, but that's why we need, I don't know who's going to do it, but there needs to be some way to build actual starter homes for first-time buyers, and maybe even move-up buyers that are trying to move out of a condo but can't bite off a $600,000 mortgage right now. And I know the argument is, well, if a person wants to buy a starter home, why don't they just buy a starter home that's already built? It's because, well, we just talked about it. There's not enough of them on the market right now. So, that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a catch-22. Like, what do you do? The one thing I know for sure is that the market is always fluid. It's always changing. So, I'll probably look back on this video in 5 years when every third house down has a for sale sign in front of it and we can't find any buyers, and kind of laugh and reminisce about the good old days. But, that's I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about right now and how we're going to kind of navigate this market. And, we're not in a bubble just yet. Like, we're not to the point where it's like, oh, here we go again, pull out all the stops, appraisal guarantees and all that stuff. But we're not too far away from that either. So I'm hoping that in the next couple months we see an influx of inventory like we usually do, in which case disregard everything I just said. But, if we don't, we're going to be talking about this a lot. So if you do have any questions, as always, just reach out to me directly, 586-491-5622. You can also reach me at 561-6155. Shoot me an email, dwerenka@m1realty.net. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching these. Really appreciate it. Sorry I couldn't bring you the video that I did have planned, but we'll get that in November when I go back out there. So again, thanks so much, guys. Anything I can do for you, say the word. That's what I'm here for. And we'll talk to you in a week. Have a great one. Thank you so much. Later, guys.